Hello everyone, good evening. As always, it is good to see you. Call it an overhaul, a reset, an expansion, a course correction, a reboot. But what it is above all is Prime Minister Modi's absolute clarity that status quo in government is simply not okay. The 77-strong Council of Ministers sworn in on Wednesday is a jumbo rainbow coalition that has made an attempt to balance the imperatives of governance and politics. The changes have been sweeping. 50% of this council is new, absolutely new. 16 are first-time MPs. There are 11 women ministers in the cabinet, the highest in 17 years. Important pandemic-hit ministries like health, like education, labour and petroleum have had a complete change of guard. 7 junior ministers have been promoted, 6 senior ministers have been dropped. And yet, in the top 3 ministries, Home, Defence and Finance, there is continuity. The new team has hit the ground running. The Cabinet has announced a 23 crore COVID emergency fund for states and 1 lakh crore via APMC for farmers, so the priority has been set. On Debrief today, we are profiling Prime Minister Modi's new soldiers who are expected not just to win the 2024 war, but also draw their weapons against the biggest enemy India faces, the pandemic. Let's start with the new faces in the council, 36 of them. The one, though, who is making maximum headlines is Ashwini Vaishnav, India's new IT and Railways Minister, who not many knew of till he was sworn in.
Fresh, motivated and ready for action. 3 attributes that not only describe Prime Minister Modi, but also his new look team.
Shri Ashwini Vaishnav.
The biggest surprise in the list of 43 names taking oath at Rashtrapati Bhavan was this man, Ashwini Vaishnav.
मैं अश्विनी वैष्णव ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ.
You may be forgiven if the name didn't ring a bell before Wednesday, but with the 51-year-old being given the responsibilities of 2 of the most critical portfolios, railways and IT, you can count on him being a household name very soon.
I thank Honorable Prime Minister for giving me this huge opportunity to serve the nation. He has a great vision. That vision, my responsibility is to implement that vision.
A quick glance at Vaishnav's CV shows that he means business. He carries an MBA from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, along with a graduation degree from IIT. The appointment of a former bureaucrat has sent a direct message to Twitter.
देश के कानून को सबको फॉलो करना पड़ेगा.
मैं ज्योतिरादित्य माधवराव सिंधिया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं.
The other fresh new face in the Modi cabinet is a man who's no stranger to handling a ministry berth, although for a diametrically opposite party. 1 year after sensationally walking out on the party that had defined his ideological identity and bringing down a government in the process, Jyotiraditya Scindia has finally got what he'd been eyeing for years, a cabinet berth. And while supporters of the Maharaj cheer him along lustily, Scindia now finds himself with the same portfolio which his father, the late Madhavrao Scindia, handled many decades ago. Another familiar face who's taken upon a new mantle is industrialist turned media magnate Rajiv Chandrasekhar. For years he's been stressing for a need to regulate big technology and data protection, even sounding warnings on cryptocurrency as early as 5 years ago. As MOS for IT, he has the chair to finally work towards an ambition he has nursed for long.
As we familiarize ourselves and as we meet and talk through not just the challenges but also the aspirations that Prime Minister has for Digital India and for Skilling India, we will lay out these things in front of the media and in front of the people of India.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India.
There are some who are back. Sarbananda Sonowal, who our viewers in Assam will remember vividly as their first BJP Chief Minister, is now back in the cabinet after having graciously moved over for Himanta Biswa Sarma. Having been MOS under Prime Minister Modi's first term, Sonowal is now elevated to a cabinet rank, given the all-important post of ports, shipping and waterways. Also rewarded are those who have made astute political choices.
मैं पति कुमार पारस ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ।
Fresh after carrying off a coup against his own nephew, the new head of the LJP, Pashupati Kumar Paras, now finds himself with a ministry very similar to that held by his brother, the late Ram Vilas Paswan. And finally, to prove that youth is no bar to enter the trenches of war,
I, Nishit Pramanik, do swear in the name of God.
all of just 35 years old, Nisit Pramanik is now a Minister of State for Home Affairs. And his priority will be to tackle the law and order problem in his home state in Bengal.
स्वाभाविक है कि इतना बड़ा जिम्मेदारी है, इतना बड़ा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, तो थोड़ा सा घबराहट हो रहा था, लेकिन जब माननीय गृह मंत्री जी को देखा और उनका आशीर्वाद दिया, तब बहुत अच्छा महसूस।
Together they form a new look army, intent on winning the war of 2024 for their general. Ritangshu Bhattacharya for CNN News 18.
The big expansion has seen the performers being rewarded as well. 7 ministers of state have been elevated to the cabinet rank. Among them, Anurag Thakur, who is now the new I&B minister, Kiran Rijiju, who is now the new Law Minister of India, and Mansukh Mandaviya, who takes over as the Health Minister of India at a very difficult time.
मैं किरण रिजिजू,
मनसुख मांडविया,
गंगापुरम किशन रेड्डी,
मैं अनुराग सिंह ठाकुर
डू स्वेयर इन द नेम ऑफ गॉड,
भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा।
मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में
अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक
और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा।
As Prime Minister Modi expanded his Council of Ministers to 77, these were the top elevations. Ministers who had delivered on Prime Minister Modi's vision and were deemed ready for bigger responsibilities. Mansukh Mandaviya has the most challenging assignment of the lot. He has replaced Dr. Harshvardhan as India's Health Minister. He takes over at a time when the government is facing criticism over its handling of the COVID crisis and a desperate shortage of vaccines. As the boss of the Chemical and Fertilizer Ministry, he was instrumental in the procurement of crucial medicines like remdesivir during the second wave. His immediate challenge is now to contain the third wave and ensure that the country is vaccinated by the end of this year. He decided not to say much as he took over the hot seat.
प्रधानमंत्री जी की अपेक्षा के अनुसार मैं काम करने की कोशिश करूंगा।
49-year-old Kiran Rijiju has become the first ever cabinet minister from Arunachal Pradesh. He's India's new law minister and takes over from the veteran Ravi Shankar Prasad. Rijiju was MOS Home. He then became India's sports minister. His fitness first image was in perfect sync with Prime Minister Modi's Khelo India call. And before you ask, yes, Mr. Rijiju does have a law degree.
I have an LLB degree because I passed out from Campus Law Center, Delhi University, and I would love to go back to the Campus Law Center someday, hopefully, and try to meet some of the old staff if they are still serving, or to feel those moments when I was there as a student.
The other MOS home, G. Kishan Reddy, has also got a promotion. He is now a cabinet minister for the newly integrated ministry that will look at tourism, culture and the Northeast. He began his new innings by invoking the Almighty. Mr. Reddy will have to deliver on Prime Minister Modi's vision of promoting the Northeast as a tourism destination to usher in development.
जो भी जिम्मेदारी सरकार आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी मेरे ऊपर देते हैं, जरूर वो काम डेडिकेशन के साथ हम काम करेंगे.
Anurag Thakur is another one of the 6 junior ministers who have been elevated. The BJP MP from Himachal Pradesh was the Minister of State for Finance and was often seen along with Nirmala Sitharaman in press briefings translating her points in Hindi. The 46-year-old former Ranji player has been entrusted with 2 important portfolios: information and broadcasting and sports.
प्रयास करेंगे कि जनता की सेवा की जा सके और भारत जिस तरह से दुनिया में
अपनी नई छाप बना रहा है मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, उसमें हम सब लोग और योगदान दे सकें।
But perhaps the biggest success story of this rejig is Hardeep Singh Puri, the former IFS officer who was looking after civil aviation and urban development. Mr. Puri will now handle petroleum along with urban development. His new job comes as petrol prices have hit a century across the country. One of the friendliest ministers in the Modi government, Mr. Puri was nostalgic on day one of his job.
In the year 1978, when I was a young under secretary in the government, तो मैं टोक्यो की पोस्टिंग के बाद आया और मेरा दफ्तर यहाँ पे शास्त्री भवन में था, जो विदेश मंत्रालय है, एक्सपी डिवीजन तब था. So in many ways it feels very nostalgic, but situation is different.
With this reshuffle, the Prime Minister has reiterated his message, perform or perish. The bar has been set very high for the new entrants and the timer is already ticking. In New Delhi, Arunima.
As you may have noticed, the new Council of Ministers is younger. The average age is 58 years. The previous was 61. 14 ministers, including 6 cabinet ministers, are under the age of 50. And for the first time in 17 years, have so many women been given a part in the council. 10% of this new council is women. They are young, they are dynamic, they are shattering the glass ceiling. The Modi government is walking the talk when it comes to Nari Shakti. The latest cabinet reshuffle has broken a record of sorts. From 6 women ministers to 11 now, the highest since 2004. And that wasn't the only record that was broken. 52-year-old Pratima Bhaumik took oath as a Minister of State, the first for a resident of Tripura. A science graduate and an avid sports person, Bhaumik joined the BJP in 1991 and rose in the ranks to become a General Secretary of the party in 2016. And now she's making history.
मैं अनुप्रिया सिंह पटेल
Apna Dal MP Anupriya Patel has made a comeback in the Modi government months before the crucial assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. In UP, Apna Dal is an ally of the BJP. The two-time MP from Mirzapur has been appointed MOS for Commerce and Industry. She had been MOS Health in her previous stint in the cabinet. A popular face of the BJP, Meenakshi Lekhi, has gone from party spokesperson to MOS for the Ministry of External Affairs and the Culture Ministry. A lawyer by profession, Lekhi has taken up several causes, including Permanent Commission for Women in the Army.
That no gender war can ever be won until and unless men are standing with women.
She's also been part of several bill drafting committees like the Women's Reservation Bill and the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Bill.
Every work is a challenge. There are challenges, but if you put in the hard work and you have your heart and soul in the right place, you can battle anything out.
Shobha Karanjale, the firebrand two-time MP from Karnataka, has also made the cut. Appointed MOS for Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, Karanjale holds a degree in social work and sociology.
किसान को समाधान करने के लिए, किसान को अच्छे करने के लिए क्या सोचना है, वो मैं स्टडी करूंगी. पूरे देश में किसान को अच्छे करने को कोशिश करूंगी.
She has held several portfolios in the state cabinet as well. Karanjale served as the energy minister in the Jagdish Shettar cabinet. Interestingly, the lone woman minister in that cabinet.
Dr. Bharati Praveen Pawar.
Dr. Bharati Pawar too dons several hats. Doctor, farmer and now MOS for health. She started her political journey from the Zilla Parishad and got elected to the Lok Sabha in 2019. The same year, she won the Best Woman Parliamentarian of the Year award. Pawar is a true grassroots neta, working on campaigns like providing clean water in Nasik and eradicating malnutrition. She is also the only Maharashtrian woman in the new Team Modi. With Natasha Menden, In New Delhi, I'm Shreya Dhoundial. The big reshuffle saw allies being accommodated. There are more ministers now from bigger states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, and yes, even West Bengal. But there have been significant drops as well. 6 cabinet ministers have been axed. Amongst them, Dr. Harshvardhan, Ravi Shankar Prasad, Ramesh Pokhriyal and Prakash Javadekar. Faces not just of the government, but also the party. The message was loud and clear: perform or perish.
मैं ज्योतिरादित्य माधवराव सिंधिया
मैं रामचंद्र प्रसाद सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
A mammoth cabinet expansion, big and bold inductions and promotions, and some very surprising exits. The message from the Prime Minister is clear: perform or perish. The most surprising exit of all is that of Law and IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad. Till only a few days ago, he was in the headlines for his running battle with Twitter. But with him being shown the door, it's clear that not everyone is happy with how the matter was handled. Despite all the legal hurdles, Twitter is still brazening it out. And no amount of tough talk from Ravi Shankar Prasad was actually working. Now his successor, former IAS officer Ashwini Vaishnav, will have to play an important role in ensuring that Twitter follows the law of the land. But the exit of Ravi Shankar Prasad may not be a complete snub to the senior politician. For a party which lays the groundwork for elections much in advance, Ravi Shankar Prasad's aggressive style may make him the perfect cog in the 2024 election wheel. The other exit that caught the eye was that of Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan, the man who was to helm India's fight against COVID-19. In March this year, he proudly declared that the virus was finished. But as cases and deaths started to rise and oxygen and hospital beds ran out, his role as Health Minister came under serious attack. The opposition has been quick to point out that Dr. Harshvardhan's exit is an admission of failure on the government's handling of the second wave. But it could also be a much-needed course correction to reassure the country ahead of an imminent third wave. Another big and surprising name to be axed, the mild-mannered Prakash Javadekar, too was shown the door. On paper, the reason is that he crossed the 70 years Lakshman Rekha. But there was increasing unhappiness over him not effectively countering the opposition's attacks on the government's handling of the COVID situation. HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal says he resigned on health grounds. But he leaves behind a mammoth task for his successor to fill vacancies in centrally run higher education institutions across the country. In fact, some of the biggest decisions related to education this year were taken by the Prime Minister's office, like the decision to cancel Class 10th and Class 12 CBSE boards, even though Pokhriyal himself was in favour of holding the exams. Pokhriyal's removal comes months before Uttarakhand Assembly elections, which raises speculation about whether he will be sent back to strengthen the organisation in the state, which has seen 3 chief ministers in 4 months. The opposition says those who have been dropped are mere scapegoats, and it's the Prime Minister who should have resigned instead.
Well, in his first reshuffle, in his second term as Prime Minister, the message is very powerful and strong. No one is unbeatable, no one is untouchable. You have to perform or you will be on your way out. But unlike many other political parties, the BJP gives equal importance to both organizational development as well as that of governance. So it's quite possible that many of those who had to resign will be accommodated with some critical and crucial organizational work as the BJP begins to work for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. In New Delhi, Pallavi Ghosh.
The big changes or course correction has been made to ensure faster delivery and synergy, to energize governance and make it more responsive. Will it work? Well, that is the hope. Up next, India now has a new ministry. We are telling you more about it after a very quick break. The revised Modi cabinet saw not just new faces, but also a new ministry. For the first time, there will be a minister in charge of cooperatives, and that's the responsibility of Home Minister Amit Shah to begin with. But what exactly is this ministry and why has it been allocated to such a party heavyweight? Is there a political aim behind the Ministry of Cooperation? Ritanshu Bhattacharya and Brijesh Kumar Singh getting us this report.
The Home Ministry of the country now has an additional job description. The Minister for the newly formed Ministry of Cooperation. The brief for this new ministry is simple. Realize the centre's vision of Sahakar se Samriddhi by roping in India's rich cooperative structure. So what exactly is a cooperative? The Cooperative Societies Act specifies that at least 10 people aged above 18 can form a cooperative society. The idea is simple. Benefit the 65% of Indian population which depends on agriculture and related activities. In 2009 to 10 itself, there were almost 1.5 lakh credit societies and over 4.5 lakh non-credit societies with over 25 crore members. The most famous example, the iconic Amul brand, developed out of the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation. The taste of India is the pride of Gujarat. And this is where Amit Shah comes in. It's an open secret in Gujarat that Shah first earned his spurs in state politics by wresting away the support of these cooperative societies from the Congress. This move turned out to be a watershed moment in state politics because since the 90s, the Congress has never come close to seizing power in the state. And it is this Gujarat model of cooperative domination that now eyes the neighbour. After all, Maharashtra is another state where cooperatives hold the key and from where both the NCP and the Congress draw their power from. The message from the power couple at the centre is clear. The target is firmly on the Aghadi control over Maharashtra's rural power centres. With inputs from Brijesh Kumar Singh from News 18 Gujarat, Ritanshu for CNN News 18.
Politics, pandemic, perception. Restructuring the Council of Ministers has been a complex exercise. Yes, winning elections is one of the objectives, but imperative to that will be fixing the pandemic-hit economy and generating jobs. The new team has the expectations of 1 billion+ people riding on it. With that, it's a wrap from me. Thanks for watching.